Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 8 of season 6 of the F124 driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Canadian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live towards the end of last week from Monaco, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Monaco, it always delivers the drama, it's always an exciting race, and obviously last season once again was able to deliver that. Of course, obviously at the moment we're just slowly but surely making our way through this season. We've reached the halfway stage and it's safe to say we've had a decent amount of success so far. More success than I was expecting with the team. We're now pretty much level in performance with most of our big hitters. Ferrari have a small advantage over everybody else right now. In the Drivers' Championship, George Russell still leads the way, 2 points in it between him and Charles Leclerc. Oscar Piastri currently lines up third ahead of Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris there, and we are just 10 points back behind Max Verstappen as well. But yeah, Montreal this weekend, this has not always been a great circuit for me. I love it, but it does seem to be a track that I get a little bit unlucky on inside this game. So fingers crossed we can stay out of trouble this weekend. Of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We're trying to hit 140,000 subs here at the moment. But yeah, let's head out then onto the circuit and into qualifying.
It is time to go qualifying in Canada. A historic track. Looks simple, it's anything but. Welcome to Montreal.
Well, Montreal is quite a high-stakes circuit in the world of F1. It's not quite Monaco, but it's certainly not a whole lot easier. Much higher speeds, and yet in some places the walls feel like they are just as close. So fingers crossed we can try and get a good qualifying effort on the board. I believe we got one of our early wins, though, in this series. We've got a podium, if I remember, all the way back in Season 1 here. Back when the AI trains were a little bit more ridiculous, and it does seem to be a track that suits the Haas platform as well, so hopefully that can be a good sign for us as Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, early kind of competitors for pole position. I think I've seen Charles Leclerc though as well, right in there. There we go, there's Charles Leclerc, and then suddenly it's back to Fernando Alonso once more. I mean, qualifying margins here are always very tight. Last year, of course, IRL, we saw just Formula One's second ever tie for pole position in the 3 decimal era. But yeah, we're not far behind Verstappen, but there's a lot of cars between us. One more proper corner to go then of the lap on the anchors, about the 100 metre board there, slightly wide on the way in. We gather it up, we keep out the wall on the exit. It is only going to be P12 though on the grid. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed. Well, there we go then. Max Verstappen, pole position here in Montreal. He really does seem to be getting into the swing of things this season. Charles Leclerc and Fernando Alonso both less than a tenth away. Lance Stroll, of course, won this race a couple of years ago up in P4 ahead of Oscar Piastri and George Russell there. But 4 tenths off pole. We only line up P12. That's just how close this grid is at the moment. The entire field covered by 8 tenths of a second. That's going to make things interesting as we head into the race.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. 2.7 mile circuit peaking at around 190 miles per hour, 2 DRS zones, 14 turns, tight corners, a narrow track, and the famous Wall of Champions. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position. Charles Leclerc alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Russell, Hamilton, Fittipaldi, Tsunoda, Norris, Firestarter, Gasly, Albon, Ocon, Iwasa, Ricciardo, Perez, Behrman, Joe, and Frederic Vesti. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
Well, here we are then down on the grid, ready for the Canadian Grand Prix. And it looks like one car has served some grid penalties here, so we're going to get jumped up the order by just a single spot, right outside of the points as we get ready for today's Grand Prix. Sunny skies throughout the afternoon here from Montreal. That is what I love to see, because this circuit, there's been a lot of changeable conditions in years gone by. Waiting on the grid, though, for those 5 red lights. Oh, it's a mighty long hole, but it is finally lights out, and away we go. They're off to a fairly wheel spinny getaway, but we will get the power down. Whoa, into turn 1 and almost straight into the back of Yuki Tsunoda there. Looks like Lando Norris opted for the hard compounded tyre off the start, so we will immediately jump past him and into that top 10 as Yuki and Enzo Fittipaldi. It feels like no matter what race we go to, I always end up battling with these two there, as the Brazilian just spots me on the inside. Didn't have to give me the room, I was prepared to back out. But clearly, just playing, you know, the psychological game. 2-time world champion, are you going to turn in on a 2-time world champion? Let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, that's been a pretty good start then. So for Max Verstappen, who's already got a little bit of an early lead there. Alonso struggling, as I believe Oscar Piastri has moved past both Aston Martins down at the first couple of corners. So yeah, that's worked quite nicely for quite a few drivers. Not too many big movers.
Okay, now stay alert for threats around you.
But yeah, we just got to try and settle into a rhythm. The DRS here will be very, very potent. But I can see Yuki Tsunoda dropping away from Hamilton. Of course, our fellow Brit, he loves this place. But I don't know whether we've seen a knock to George Russell's confidence after that mistake battling for the win out at Imola. But yeah, the last couple of races, at least early on, really have not gone the way of the McLaren man. Still leading the World Championship, as here we go down the inside of Yuki. But already he's dropped off the back of the top 5.
Some understeer now that you're in the wake of the car ahead. Try to get past as soon as possible.
Well, I'm trying to get on with it, Mark. There's still plenty of cars in front of me. As here goes Lewis Hamilton to the outside of his former teammate, wheel to wheel, in towards the final chicane there, in supreme confidence by the 7-time world champion. That's going to leave Russell a little bit vulnerable on the exit, so we're going to try and capitalise with the DRS down into turn 1. Well, early on, we are making moves. Well, that move by Lewis Hamilton, probably the first time in about 4 seasons I've seen him look confident behind the wheel of a Mercedes inside this game. So many just disappointing years now. You know, it really does feel inside this game that because he hasn't moved to Ferrari, it's kind of just like a season, or a career, sorry, slowly fizzling out in Formula 1, but we'll make the DRS pass work in towards the first corner. We've got to go in hot pursuit of Lance Stroll. Just see if we can break away. Russell as well, I hadn't noticed that. He's also on the hard compound tyre. So McLaren, they're really going for a bold strategy. Oh, Stroll struggling. I'm struggling. Oh,
Right,
that was scary.
Use overtake.
Lance Stroll, yeah, just had a little bit of wheel spin there. You could hear him spiking the revs, because obviously the ABS have traction control built... Sorry, the AI have traction control built in. So yeah, that means Stroll now has lost the DRS to his teammate Fernando Alonso. So clearly feeling the pressure. I don't think today is going to be the day the Canadian gets his 2nd Montreal victory. But can we move past him and therefore get ourselves back in the range of Alonso just up in front? This Haas car's not got great traction at that hairpin, but round the outside we'll go. Get it slowed down. We learned that from Hamilton a few laps ago. And there we go. We're back in the range of another Aston. Oh, we've got yellows. Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri's breaking down in the Ferrari. Gutted for Oscar then, just as Ferrari started to look strong inside this game. Well, the young Australian there has been absolutely screwed over. And well, that certainly immediately raises alarm bells for all the other Ferrari-powered cars around this venue. But Oscar Piastri, our first casualty of the afternoon. That has worked quite nicely for me, though, because it's meant Alonso has lost the DRS reins on Charles Leclerc just in front. So we might be able to try and find a way around the Spaniard, just like we did with his teammate 1 lap ago, to the outside of Alonso. And will we make it through? Yes, we will. Will we get to Charles Leclerc? Yes, we also will. So suddenly now we are up into the podium places here. Things have really fallen into place early on. Right up behind Charles Leclerc then, the Mercedes man. Looked really good when he was fighting with Oscar Piastri, but I think he's just taken a bit too much out of his tyres. So we are going to make yet another move, and let's not forget we qualified P12 here, but this car is definitely more of a racer than it is a qualifier so far inside this game. So the fact we've already been able to work our way up to the front of the order in just 13 laps here is pretty ridiculous. I'm not sure, though, we'll get in the range of Verstappen. But we've just got to wait for the pit window. I could be tempted to try and go for an undercut. Just see if we could launch to him. Well, the rear tyres here still feeling really good. And I'm watching now Verstappen going round. And everybody seems to be sliding a little bit more than us. So rather than going for an undercut, I could be tempted to try and go long here. And have a bigger advantage towards the end of the afternoon. Not quite Imola levels from a few races ago, or even Monte Carlo last weekend, but yeah, we could potentially extend this stint towards sort of lap 20, and then have a big delta towards the end. The only problem is soft tyres don't tend to work that well here, so it's not like we could get to lap 22, lap 23, and then gamble the other way, because they would be cooked by about lap 27. Well, are we going to see Verstappen dive into the pit lane then at the end of this lap? Our tyres just starting to get a little bit more slidey, but there we go, the Dutchman is in. So we're going to try and make the overcut work here. Leclerc's opted to stay out with me, so he's going to at least go an extra one. Looks like Alonso has been given first call down at Aston Martin. So maybe he might have actually held up, Max, just a little bit there for us, which could work really nicely. In fact, I think he has. So Verstappen then may be in trouble in the pits. He admittedly has not had much luck this year. Well, I'm just a little bit worried about getting jumped by Leclerc here, so I'm not going to dive into the pits this lap either. I'm going to just take this one lap extra. As there we go. Charles luckily does pit. I would look like a right fool then if he opted to stay out. Stroll is also in. Obviously, George Russell on those hards. He will stay in here just a little bit longer. So, yeah, he's got to be pitting within the next few laps, I would have thought. But yeah, those McLarens are going to be strong in the second half. That was the other reason I didn't pit. I didn't want to screw over Pierre. As looks like Verstappen then has held on ahead of Leclerc. And the gap actually... Oh, the gap's gone up, so I think Charles Leclerc's been screwed in the pits. Charles Leclerc way down the order. As he makes his way back out, though, Alonso's got the jump on him. No, he hasn't. Leclerc has hung on. Well, I'm really hoping that Charles Leclerc did have a slow stop. Otherwise, we're going to be in big trouble, because Verstappen now has got almost a 5-second lead over him as we make our way down to the pit lane. Brake just at the 50-metre board. Just slam the anchors right at the last moment to make sure we don't get done for speeding on the way in. George Russell stays out there. Are we going to see Lando Norris do the same? I think both McLarens, they've kind of got to extend that stint and hope for like a safety car or something.
Okay, off we go. Back
That was a
into the
good
race.
stop by Haas, though. I like to see that.
Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one.
Here comes Verstappen. He will go back past us, down in towards turn 1. And Verstappen, yeah, he hasn't been able to get much of an advantage, though, from that undercut. So we are definitely going to be looking good here. Charles Leclerc, though, he was the big loser. He was right on my gearbox, and suddenly he's 3 seconds back. There we go, Norris in, and Verstappen was right on his gearbox. By the time he got down to the pit lane entry, you can see that DRS. Verstappen, new fastest lap of the day, half a second quicker than us that last lap. 6-time world champion, if I'm not mistaken, in this timeline. No, only 5-time world champion, isn't he? Sorry. Max Verstappen inside this game. We've only got 2 world championships at the moment. So, yeah, I think Verstappen's looking strong here. Well, the pace Max Verstappen and I have been putting up against each other in these last few laps has been absolutely relentless. Lap 30 of lap 35. The laps are really starting to count down now. Oh, that's not the line I need. But yeah, we've just been pulling away from Leclerc, Alonso, and Lewis Hamilton, to be fair to him, has finally brought himself up in towards a decent position here. But, I mean, yeah, we are just pushing like crazy to try and hang with the Dutchman, just trying to get ourselves into the DRS. It feels like every time I get a good lap on the board, next time round, Verstappen just goes a little bit quicker again. So that gap isn't coming down just every single lap, it's kind of moving around a little bit as we both try and feel out the tyres towards the end of the race. It's floating at just over 1 now. We know obviously if we get within a second, then we gain a huge amount of time for free. But every time I just get right close to him, just a little mistake like that. Oh, Lando Norris has been disqualified. What on earth has happened to Lando Norris in this race? Can't even see where he is. Eh? I have no idea what has happened to Lando Norris in this race, and sadly, my camera cuts out where he is on the track. but I can only assume he's been done for parking in a dangerous location. Sometimes the AI bin it on the exit of turn 2, just spin it round and just get stuck there. So yeah, that's a real hammer blow for McLaren this weekend. One of their drivers definitely failing to see the checkered flag. But 4 laps to go. That gap to Verstappen, it just for a split second there crept under 1. It's just got to try and be there when we go through a DRS detection point. That might be right now to make our way through. Have we got the DRS on the Dutchman? Yes, we have. And again, just struggling to put the power down though off the very next corner. Verstappen now is in trouble. Well, just over 2 laps to go then, and suddenly we might be in for a battle of the ages here. It's not often Max Verstappen feels pressure like this behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car, but he's just been squirreling around over these last couple of laps. They're really struggling to try and get the power down in a couple of spots, and suddenly this battle becomes very, very real towards the end of the race. We've got 2 laps to try and make the move. It's currently all 3 of your world champions on this game inside the top 3 of your race, but anything can happen between now and the flag. Well, apart from a couple of laps under the pit cycle, we have not led at all this afternoon. This is where we got our first ever win for Haas, all the way back, I want to say, in Season 2 of this career mode. We've got a podium here in Season 1. This circuit, for whatever reason, in the Haas car works really, really nicely for us, and usually those battles have been against Max Verstappen here. Can we have a look down in towards turn 1? Oh, I just thought he covered the inside a little bit more than he did there, so I was going to try and slot back to the outside line. Car bottoms out over the curbing through turn 2, so we really struggle to put the power down there. Alonso trying to hassle Charles Leclerc as well behind. There's 5 world champions inside your top 5 right now. That might be every world champion on the grid that is currently inside your top 5 here. So clearly the cream will always rise to the top. But as we try and put the power down this back straight, not close enough to Verstappen there to really go for anything. Can we get a run off of the corner? That is where he's been strong all day. Max Verstappen able to put the power down there, and now he's just got to try and get the power down out of the hairpin. We're going to have one more real opportunity here, and I cannot mess that up. Just a slight bit of wheel spin as we put the power down. But look at that Verstappen. I think he's used all of his battery. Max Verstappen really struggling towards the end of the race. He's going to force me to a defensive line in towards the final chicane there. Make sure that we don't cut it. Make sure that we give him the room. But final corner, final lap. That is going to be P1 for Haas.
Yes, 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 guys, yes! Come on, boys! Ah, fantastic drive. That's just fantastic. Amazing. You deserved that race win. Well done, mate.
They take the checkered flag then here in Canada in what has been another fabulous Grand Prix.
It's one thing to put fast laps together, but to make these moves stick without losing too much time, that's real racecraft.
Today was another great race and an even greater victory for Haas. Here they come now to step out onto the top of the podium. They'll be incredibly happy with today's result.
Well, there we go then. From P11 on the grid, we have taken P1 here in Montreal, and it seems fitting. The place we took our first win for Haas is where we get our first return win to the Haas Formula 1 team. And I tell you what now, with the car where it's at, could we end up still being a late threat for a third World Championship with a third straight team. Max Verstappen comes through for P2. Alonso pipped Leclerc on that last lap as well to finish in P3 with the two Mercs 4th and 5th. Russell, championship leader. I don't think he will be in for much longer as he only finishes down in 6th there. Ahead of Stroll, Tsunoda, Fittipaldi and Esteban Ocon rounds out our top 10. Gasly, he was down in 11th in the end, just could not quite make the moves in the same way we were able to there. It's Fred Vesti, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris all fail to see the checkered flag. What does that do to our championship standings? Well, it means there's 1 point in it at the top of the table now between Charles Leclerc and George Russell, but both myself, Max Verstappen and even Fernando Alonso are very quickly closing back in on your top 2 in the championship. Oscar Piastri, of course, is right there. He just needs a bit of luck to go his way, and he can absolutely be a threat as well. So, I mean, last season we saw like a 6-way championship fight. If Lando Norris can, get things together again, we could see 7 this season, which would just be absolutely mind-blowing as well. Constructors-wise, we're still in P6 there. 1 point in it between Red Bull and Ferrari as McLaren's gap at the top gets cut to just 22 points as well. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the, I believe, Austrian Grand Prix.